Our life is kind of just this chain of linked app experiences.
Search and discovery is broken on mobile devices. The fact that you have to open an app or even install it to figure out what's inside, this kind of points to how big this problem is. So again, in order to achieve this, we want to actually enable users to find the most contextually relevant actions inside other apps based on keywords, date, or location.
If you're a developer, you don't want your users to click on links inside of your app and go into some web view or get kicked out of your app into Safari. I think there's actually a weakness of the direct deep linking experience as well, in that as soon as the user clicks the link and goes into the web or a deep link, you kind of lose them and you kind of lose their engagement. So instead, what you should be doing is rendering cards that let the users begin to engage in line. So 2 examples here. One is a messaging app. And in a conversation, if I say check out this awesome shirt from Lululemon and paste a link, then what your app should do is use Wildcard to convert that link into a card that renders in line here. So you actually can see the product, can read the description, can read the details, potentially even buy it here, or if Lululemon so chooses, deep link you into their app or to their website to complete the purchase. But it's way better to give them the experience so they don't have to click on the link, leave the app, and then come back to complete the conversation.
What's interesting is about a lot of commerce applications is we measure and look for different things than we used to in content-based applications. So in a content-based app, you measure time on site or time in app, and you measure your engagement, and you want all of those numbers to be really, really high. You want people to be in your property as long as possible. And a lot of these commerce apps measure themselves based on how quickly can I get someone in and out, and can I fulfill their use case, bounce them, like they're done. After I've gone an Uber, my appetite for an Uber is fulfilled. I don't need a second Uber, like 5 minutes later. And I think that creates a really, really interesting property of these apps. In that for use cases like this, book a VIP table. Either I want to book a VIP table or I don't. Like I'm not going to go hang out in the book a VIP table app if I'm like in the office on a Tuesday. These are like honed products that are designed to get you in, out, solve a need, solve a use case as quickly and as effectively as possible. And what's really interesting about that is when you're done, there's nothing to do. There's no benefit to them of saying, no, this is my user. I'm going to keep them here forever.
So right now, Fandango, if you guys are Fandango users and you open Fandango and you buy a ticket to, let's say, The Mockingjay, to the Hunger Games movie, at the very bottom of that, the purchase page, you're going to see something that says, click here to get movie restaurant recommendations right near your theater. And if you tap that link and you have the Yelp app, you're going to go right into the Yelp app to that page. And it's great. It's a really nice experience and it's great. But if you don't have the Yelp app, you're going to end up on a mobile website. And the reason for that is because that's a one-off deal. Yelp and Fandango have done this deal, and it's just one-to-one. What figuratively could be the case is Fandango could use us, and they could call us and say, give me restaurant links that are relevant to this user. And we will know that, let's just say, my colleague Sarah has TripAdvisor, but she doesn't have Yelp. So we will return the exact same link to TripAdvisor, to restaurants near the theater and TripAdvisor. I might have OpenTable, so when I see the same exact experience, I'll see the OpenTable links. So it creates a very personalized experience in the apps, and it allows apps like Fandango a product extension and a revenue source, and that's what we're building now.
A lot of times when I talk to partners, they say they monetize their apps a lot better than they do mobile web. And so a lot of companies are dedicating a lot of money to try to get app downloads, right? So that also begs the question, on mobile, is the web dead?
Is you're going to think the mobile web?
You start, right? We did get to a point on the web where we could have a bunch of sort of interoperable experiences within a single web page, a bunch of functionality, move across contexts. But that like widgetification and overloading what was originally a semantic standard with a lot of JavaScript made the web break when it came to mobile, right? There was really bad experiences. And so I think we're seeing a shift towards native just for performance, but the reason there's so much focus on app downloads reminds me of something Chris was talking about in a Recode article last week. Like, if I see a New York Times link in my Twitter feed and I want to read that article in the best way possible, I can either go to the mobile web, which is just poor performance and a poor user experience, and that's what those business metrics are reinforcing. Or I have to go have this totally separate app download experience in the App Store, which is completely removed from my intent to read that story. So I think that focus on app downloads is actually going to fade away, and you're going to see just a focus on, you know, whatever the consumer intent.
I think one of the main reasons that these apps kind of evolved in parallel to the web was because there's so much of the native functionality of phone that you can't actually access from a browser today. And I think, you know, a part of, I know how Google's thinking about this is, again, kind of even aligning Chrome with Android to then kind of make apps more webby and webs more appy.
With our focus on commerce, we fundamentally believe the OS, Apple, Google, large players are going to solve the authentication and the payment element of it, and we're going to focus on, hey, can we provide the right connection between two websites or two apps or two pages at the perfect moment for that customer.
How do you guys see monetization for third parties moving forward?
I actually think this is where cards play a crucial element that deep linking can't quite come far enough up the stack to solve. But if we have, some standards or common tools that we can use to show content natively across contexts, we can now meet consumer intent and make native units that perform a lot better. It's like, what's the hottest thing in the mobile ad world right now? It's these like native ad install units, right, that we're running, and I still think that's a pretty poor user experience. Like, if you're in your Facebook feed, you don't really want to download Candy Crush. That's pretty irrelevant. You might want to play a game with your friend, but we can't bring a native interactive mini game experience to your feed and say, hey, I just played a snippet of a game. This was great. Maybe I want to download whatever app provided this card experience. So I think once we get to a point, hopefully through at Wildcard we believe adoption of cards, where we can share little native snippets of our apps into other contexts, those become the best native ad unit there could ever be, right? Because it's actually meeting the intent of the user.
Yeah, I mean, completely agree. I think those little mini snippets of apps is one of the best ways of both driving engagement across apps, but also, kind of to Noah's point, capturing some of that latent intent that's built up just by virtue of the fact that you're using an app. There's a very clear intent there. And I think one of the big problems is that there's not a very easy way to bridge that intent or actually find the best place to resolve that across apps. And I think for us, one of the big kind of parts of our vision is we want to be that AdSense or AdWords for apps, where any marketer or any brand can log in, bid on entities, bid on keywords, bid on actions, and then control those placements across the entire network that UX controls. And again, we want to do that in a way that actually adds value to users, so that it's not something that people perceive as an ad, right? Being able to play music when you're tracking a workout isn't perceived as an ad. So I think we want to continue to bring this cross-app functionality to both users and developers in a way that helps both parties equally so.
Deep linking is just piping, and search, it's a way for us who all make apps and services to talk to each other, just like APIs, and search is just a way for a consumer to speak plain language and find the good or service that they need, right? So I think we're all just trying to, there's really obvious friction in the ecosystem right now. We can't do obvious things. That's why we're all here. And so once there's search and deep linking, I think it'll be like the internet blooming on the web all over again. I don't know what people will make. I hope it's everything.